But we're going to stay with the story of the SABC. We're now going to cross to our reporter Ulrich Henriks. Very good afternoon to you, Ulrich. Tell us where you are and what's happening there.
Your cable shifted again.
Ulrich Henriks and some of our colleagues from what looks like the Northern Cape office protesting as part of the countrywide protest by SABC staff members over looming job cuts. We know that in another province in Mpumalanga, the Mpumalanga SABC news team has downed tools against the Section 189 process. Here we are bringing you visuals of our colleagues in the Northern Cape who are protesting against that Section 189 process. These are protests and strike action that's taking place across the country by SABC members. You saw that quite large gathering that Hasina Gori was reporting from, that we are going to cross back to, and we apologize for the sound and the cutting off of sound. Very unfortunate. But we will make sure that we continue to bring you that story of what's taking place at the public broadcaster. And so we're going to come out of those visuals from the Northern Cape. You see a small gathering of the team that works there protesting against that. We're going to bring you the different parts of the story of the SABC. For now, we're going to try to go back to Auckland Park, where Hasina Gori is standing by, with not only SABC staff members that are protesting, but SABC staff members as well. Hasina. And so I apologize for that. Let's go back to my colleague, Ulrich Henriks. Ulrich, a very good afternoon to you. We've just seen you gathering there with colleagues, singing, holding placards. What's happening?
Hi, good afternoon. Well, we've been, SABC news staff is here at the Kimberley Northern Cape office, have been protesting lunchtime pickets for this whole week. Continuing today, of course, some of our colleagues already have received letters in connection with the Section 189 retrenchment process, and more are expected. Of course, the board letting us know this morning that for the next week, that process is on hold. But like I said, quite a number of my colleagues here have already received those letters. Also, colleagues of ours at the Sand Station XKFM at a staff complement of about 14 from the radio presenting side. 11 of those have already received their letters. Only 3 people unaffected by the Section 189 process. And of course, fears there because that station very instrumental in delivering news and information to the Khoisan community there. Of course, also looking at high joblessness ratio there, and they are quite concerned that it will bring more poverty to that community, but also delay the progress that has been made in terms of reviving their language and culture. But here in the Northern Cape again, for the past week, we've been joined by EFF supporters, members, complaining about the process, saying that the process will hurt the coverage, especially of the Northern Cape. Of course, we're looking at this province is quite vast. So the people that you see here are the people who bring you the news from this province. Of course, quite a large province, and so a lot of people, community members also, that were yesterday taking part in, in support of the staffers here in the Northern Cape, saying that they're quite concerned that once the Section 189 process has been concluded, that the province will not be covered in the manner that it has been covered before. Of course, you know that the SABC has reached quite far, and this team behind me and some other people are responsible for covering a very large part of this province.
Back to Auckland Park now. Hasina Gori is standing by, interviewing people both from the SABC and SABC that are protesting. Hasina, over to you. We apologize for that. We know that because there's lots of protest, there's lots of noise, there can sometimes be a break in transmission, but we want to make sure that we bring you quite a wide picture of what's happening just outside our Auckland Park offices, as well as in the Northern Cape. So we go back to Hasina Gori now. Perhaps it's a third time lucky. Hasina, very good afternoon to you. Take us through the protests.
Good afternoon. Yes, as we were speaking earlier, there were messages of support coming out from various of the trade unions and political parties that came out here. We know that the ANC Youth League members came from as far as the Eastern Cape as well as Limpopo, all in the support of the SABC workers here. With me is one of the South Sea union members from ICTU, speaking to us about a similar process that they're going through and why it was so important for them to come through and give their support behind the staffers here at the public broadcast. Thank you, Tabo. Sorry about that break. Can you tell us, why did you colleagues come out here today?
Thank you so much. As a SABC employee, we are undergoing a similar process, which is an unprocedural Section 189, which is taking place at SABC. We know that SABC has not lost any money during the lockdown, and as such, we feel that this retrenchment should not be taking place at all. SABC, number one, does not have audited financials for the past 2 years. Yet they've got permanent auditing firms within the employees' premises, the likes of KPMG, PwC, as well as Deloitte. Yet they are retrenching employees. The CEO is going about lying on the media saying that SABC has lost money. SABC has not lost any money. Instead, he's trying to get rid of employees because they are under a union. He's trying to get rid of the union, and in doing so, the CCMA on the 60 days which has concluded, the CCMA did not say SABC can proceed with the retrenchment because parties did not reach a consensus there, and therefore we advised that we should still engage. SABC, from then on, they started issuing out termination letters to employees and giving severance packages of 16,000 to an employee that is with 5 years within the company. Employees with 13 years in the company, they are getting severance packages of 50,000. We feel that is an insult. And most of the employees, it's black single mothers who are breadwinners. You know, so we are not going to sit down and watch SABC bully us because they've interdicted us from striking as well. And we know that there's a recap of 4 billion which was approved, and SABC has got that money. And Blue Label, who is the majority shareholder of SABC, they own 45% of the shares in SABC. They promised in writing that they will not be retrenching if that recap goes through. Now we don't understand why SABC is there for retrenching, because they've got the 4 billion. So we are also having an issue with our shares, which were being by Investec Bank. Our shares have seemingly disappeared in thin air. When we ask where are our shares, SABC is telling Investec to email us. SABC did not reach a beta, but we were paid bonus. So we know that a beta was reached. So SABC is lying on that part.
So you're here to share your struggle in here. I want to just get a sense of what is happening behind here. Let's just try and move so we can look at the sea of unions as well as political parties that are here, supporting the SABC staffers here. As you can see, quite a huge number of people coming out, as well as SABC employees, all bringing their voice and saying that enough is enough and that there needs to be an end to the Section 189. We know that the board did issue a statement in the early hours of this morning saying that the Section 189 process will be suspended for 7 days. But as you heard from unions as well as staff, the sentiment is very similar, that is just a delayed tactic and they want to see an end of that process completely. But with me is also the Young Communist League's national spokesperson. Thank you so much for speaking to us. You here today, why was it important for you to come here and add your voice?
No, thank you. Greetings to you and greetings obviously to your viewers. We're here as the Young Communist League to show support to the workers, but to also join the workers as they are marching here today to challenge the illogical decisions that have been made by the SABC board. Firstly, it is not the first, this whole thing is not starting with the issuing of letters to workers. It has started with Abu kicked off and many other events that happened before that. So we are here as the Young Communist League particularly to raise voice against the irrational decisions that have been taken by the SABC, but to also show our solidarities as with workers to ensure that workers get justice. And for us, justice is not only about workers going to work, but for us, justice is also about the transformation of this entity. Because this entity for a number of years now has been faced by serious leadership issues, number one, number two, capacity issues. And it seems like the more we try to address challenges, the more in fact we dig up more challenges. Therefore, we are here to voice our concerns as the YCL, but to also, and most importantly, support these workers that are here.
Yes. There's a school of thought that political parties shouldn't be here in support of the SABC strike, that it might affect the editorial policies and the editorial interference. What's your thoughts on that?
Before their workers.
A profuse apology to our viewers for the quality of sound that's been coming from those protests. Perhaps we're going to ask them to change the